Welcome to another edition of Teacher Talk, where real teachers discuss real issues that are happening within our schools and our school districts. I'm Dedrick Messenger,
And I'm Jackie Collins.
and I want to put my disclaimer out there today, since Jackie, before we get started. None of our opinions are related to our school or tied to anything we say, just our opinion. Our opinion. What we say is about what we think. So, ain't nobody tied to this. I just want to make sure. You know how people do sometimes. Let's have some fun today, y'all.
Okay.
Let's have some fun. What's on your mind, Sister Jackie?
Well, last week we talked about how stressed teachers are and what's creating that stress. We know a lot of factors are contributing to the stress of teachers. So this week, I wanted to take a few minutes just to look at some reasons why teachers might be leaving the profession. So I wanted to start by asking you a question, Pastor. In your opinion, why do you think teachers are leaving the profession?
Well, my opinion, I think a lot of teachers are burnt out. We're burnt out. We keep adding things that do not go with education per se. Let me say it like that. I'm gonna give you a prime example. We have some things going on where I teach at that sometimes how would I put it? Parents come up with the idea.
Okay.
As opposed to what education's supposed to be about. And we start putting a lot of parent ideas into place for what to make teachers do other things. This was not what I was supposed to do. But these are parent ideas. So we're trying to keep parents happy.
Right.
So you're putting more on our plate. And that's called teacher burnout.
Well, I hear you say parents' ideas. Now, this big thing is going on in the media just here recently about teachers not being able to allow kids to read certain books.
Right.
Is that, in your opinion, pushed by parents? Or where did that come from? It's just been maybe the last couple months that this has come up. So I'm not sure where that kind of developed from and why kids cannot read books.
I haven't looked into that a lot, but my opinion on it. I think it's a parent thing, because those books have been there and we have been teachers. And I don't think none of us have the time to go down to the library to go through every book down there and say, this don't need to be here, this don't need to be here, this don't need to be here. I think as parents saying, I don't want my child to read about certain things. We got the certain cultures don't want you to read about certain cultures. We don't want them to know about history. We got critical race theory going on. We got things with LGBT, lesbians, and gay going on. I'm not trying to down anybody or anything, but you got folks against somebody against some of all that stuff. That's what I'm saying.
And I would think that, kind of in my opinion, don't you think that kids need to be, or just people in general, need to have an open mind? So how am I going to have an open mind if this is hidden from me? Or I don't have an opportunity to have the exposure to it. How can a kid have an open mind about it,
And you just said something. You said a key word. You said exposure. I think exposure is one of the key elements to progressing and learning about a lot of things in life. I was exposed to some stuff growing up, and I was like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
Is that what that's really about? Is this what this? Because I was exposed to it. But what we want to do, and I think this is one of the worst things that's going to happen to us, is the fact that when we're trying to erase history, and we don't want our kids to know that I'm gonna say it like this: we don't want black kids to know that this person right here was a slave owner. So what we do, we take his statue down. See, I'm totally different on that. Now that's just like I say. My opinion is that if I leave that statue up, he'll ask me one day, well, who was that right there? Well, that was the guy that did this. We were talking about. Right. But if you ever take that statue down, you erase that history, because that kid they're not going to put it in the history book. They're not going to do anything. So therefore, he's never going to have an exposure to it.
Right.
You know, we know these states are like this. We know this, but take all that down. Next thing you know, well, how are you going to teach your kid about it? If you want to erase, if you want to say we can't have Black history in the school, how white kids going to know about this? You know. Yeah, how our kids gonna know about it?
Right.
I'm not gonna say white kids. How our kids gonna know about it too? So it's gonna affect a whole lot of people.
Right. So I was doing some research on this topic that we're talking about, why teachers leave in the profession, and this group interviewed 80 teachers, and this is why they said they left the profession. It was the most common thing was respect,
Wow.
no support,
Wow.
better pay,
Yeah.
and more flexibility are just a few things that they name that here are the reasons they are leaving the profession. And I would have to say, if I looked at each thing individually, if you look at respect, I would think, that can be kind of, I would think, are you talking about the respect that's not given from children to adult, from child to adult?
Right.
Are you talking about the respect that teachers think that they need or should have when it comes to the support that you should be giving me? That's, you allow a kid to say X, Y, and Z to me. So that's
right.
The respect is downplayed there. Along with that, are you talking about, or do you think this, Pastor, do you think teachers would stay in this profession with what's going on today? Let's look at the evolution of it, from where it started to where it has evolved today, the profession.
Right.
Do you think if you paid teachers more, do you really think they would stay in this profession?
No. and the reason I say this, because after a while, money is just money.
Yep.
And once you get what you want, you say, I don't need that no more. Our values change toward money. Some people say, I need it for all my life, but once you have really achieved what you want, money becomes secondary because you'll save some. You know how to handle it now. No, I'm just saying, I don't need that much. See, when we were younger, we needed more money. We wanted to buy houses, we wanted to buy cars. But watch this, now we got houses that are paid for. Most of our cars are not very expensive cars. We get notes that we can handle. I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
So when we look at teacher now, watch this. One of the reasons the cry for, I think one of the cries for monetary gain in education now is because we got so many young teachers coming in. They can't afford an apartment.
Yeah.
The average teacher with 20 years got a house already. I mean, these kids got student loans that's out. We paid our way through college. We didn't have a lot of debt when we came out of college as older teachers. They weren't given that kind of money then. So here we are. I think you're dealing with two generations, because when this generation, when my generation walk out within the next 5 to 10 years, it's really going to be a shock to the system, because you're talking about the teacher burnout, and I think we talked about some numbers last week. That we talked about, that 49% of teachers quit within their first 5 years. Oh my goodness! Now we got to the point that kids are not even going into education.
Well, even with looking at teacher burnout and why teachers are leaving the profession, some of the data that I was reading was, it used to be, of course, they're leaving the 1 to 5 years, so they're leaving before their 5 years.
Right.
But the other data is showing that teachers who are almost at retirement, they're not waiting on it. They want to know how they can get out early. They said, I think it said 49% of them are like, no, I can't even wait on retirement.
Right.
What is creating all of this where I want out? Because teachers, there are some teachers that stuck around 35 and 40 years.
That's
and
right.
Now people are like, now just let me get to 20.
I'm hearing teachers say, if you tell me the day to the hour to the minute, I'm walking out when that minute comes. These are professional people
that have done a great job.
Right.
Been around for a long time.
Been around for a long time. And I think you asked another question, and I'm going to elaborate on the fact of respect. I'm going to go back to that word. There is no respect. And our parents are not teaching their kids to respect us.
Correct.
They're telling these kids that they have a right to do whatever they want to do. And I was talking to a teacher the other day, and we actually I said, why can't you just believe what the teachers say? Parent wants us to click numbers and write stuff down, and you got to do all this stuff to prove that this kid did this. If you went to the doctor, this is exactly what I said. If you went to the doctor, you would believe that you got a bump on your back and you can't see it, or you hadn't risen out yet. If you went to the courtroom and they said, if you don't do this, you'll believe that. Am I right?
Right.
So if I tell you your kid is cutting up in the classroom, if I tell you your kid is talking back, if I tell you your kid is not doing his work, why do I have to prove that?
Prove it. Yeah. But again, let's go back to the evolution.
Yeah,
let's go back to how this has evolved to that.
Yeah.
Because years ago, if somebody said you were acting up,
Right.
there was no parent believed a kid over a teacher years ago. But now well, that's a different story.
but because again, the generational thing, you say the evolution of it.
Yeah, right.
So here we are. Well, I mean, you know what, Sister Jackie, I say this, and I think it's my generation that has dropped the ball on this. Because now it's my kids that are having children. And those are the kids that are in the system. Us that's 45, 50, 55 years old. So our kids have got kids in the system. We spent so much time trying to get our kids to where we were not. We taught them respect, to respect us. Well, we taught them that they didn't have to do certain things too. And I think and we didn't hone it to the point, and we didn't stay on it. And they took it and put their own twist to it. And ain't nobody got to tell me nothing now. You know why? Because I got a car that I didn't have to work for.
Right.
See, I got a house over here in this neighborhood now. See, when I grew up, man, it was a struggle. And my parents always said, if you can't behave at school, you better behave. If you can't get to work, you better have we had S's in conduct. And the problem is, Jack, I will go back to this now. I think one of the biggest problems in our school system now is the fact that our system, I'm just going to say, the system that I work in, we do not have conduct grades on report cards in elementary school.
That used to be a very big thing.
That is, I can't even put down how your child is behaving in my classroom.
Wow.
They took it off. See, it's interesting. They took it off the report card. It was on there. So they took it off. And I keep asking, why do we take that off?
Wow. Because back in the day, it used to be an S
U
or an U or an N. Need improvement, unsatisfactory, and satisfactory. That used to be a big thing.
Yeah.
And parents used to look at that because they did not want you misbehaving.
First thing my parents, they looked at my conduct before they looked at my grade.
Yeah.
You got an F and a U? Wait a minute. You can behave. You may not know the word, but you better behave.
Well, one of the things that they mentioned in their passage was flexibility. And I noticed that when the pandemic happened, I thought we were transitioning more of a country to let's be more flexible to what employees need.
Yeah.
If they need to go to the doctor, if they need to stay at home with their kid, whatever, the kids was sick, whatever, let's be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more understanding.
Right.
But I think now that we're moving away from this pandemic, I think it's back to no, you need to come, even if your child is sick. People are struggling trying to find help for those things. But I really thought that when the pandemic was, it was in full effect, people were being more flexible. But now I think we're back in education to you all can't, no flexibility there. You all know what y'all need to do, and you need to do it in this amount of time. It's just no flexibility.
But when you're running scared, let me say it like that. When you're running scared and don't know what's going to happen, everybody got the right answer. Yeah. We tend to get together. You notice when things happen, we always take prayer out of school, but when there's a catastrophic event, everybody at school want to pray. We come to the school and pray. We're around the flagpole. We're around everything. But when all that passed, Don't you say nothing about Jesus in the school?
Right.
This is what we do. The same thing right here.
Exactly.
And what happens is we don't have any self-care time.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing how we are promoting self-care in the school district, but we don't have self-care days.
That's true. That's true.
You should have, when you build your calendar for the year, there should be self-care days in that calendar just because this teacher, they need off. And they need some time. They need this. They need some self-care. Everybody gets stressed. See, and parents don't understand. They let me say, I think they do, but they just don't want to admit they understand because they want to send their they 3 kids to school because they tired of raising their 3 kids. But they don't understand that we got 700, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 every day.
Right. But what about the people that say you all don't need additional time off when you are getting breaks off? You get fall break, spring break, winter break. You're even off during the summers. Why do you need more flexibility? Why do you need more time off?
Well, you know what? Because you're dealing with a vast amount of different attitudes, a vast amount of age differences. When I say you're dealing with parents too. See, a lot of us, when we go to work, we know what we're going to be dealing with. If I'm an accountant, I'm messing with numbers. And even if I have anything to say to anybody, I'm dealing with an adult. But I got to deal with adults. I got to deal with children. I got to deal with the outside authorities. I got to deal with the media. I got to deal with the TV. I got to deal with everything about this. Pay everything, and then we don't want to say you need this. Everybody needs a break from this. Everybody needs a break here. I mean, but watch this. When we give time off, I don't have time with my friends because my friends at work. I mean,
right.
I don't have time with other teachers because you're in a different system or whatever. We can't get together because their break is over here, mine is over here. Everybody has a different calendar. Let me say it like that. Let me say it like that. And then people are whining about the money, but we have to save our own money to be paid in the summer. Right. That's not being paid when I have to save my own money. Right. You're just giving it back to me. I already held it out. And everybody goes, well, you get paid in the summer. No, I don't. No, that drew me into business because I was starving. I had a family.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I want to read you some. I pulled off a lot of reasons why teachers had quoted why they left the profession. Yeah. So this teacher said, "It is what I call the second job. Teaching is really 2 jobs." So you're talking about you're going to teach, which is equated to 2 jobs. Yeah. And then you got to go run another business. Right. And I still got to be able to get all these kids to pass this test that the state is given. Right. And you think I won't experience some burnout in that?
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Sister Jackie. You just said something about a test. With this thing coming up now in Tennessee, I know. Yeah. So I don't know if it's across the nation or what, but with the 3rd graders passing this test, when students are not going to pass, that's going to be a backlash on teachers again. We're going to be the one to blame if that student doesn't pass that test. And the parent already know they're going to come and blame us, but they know that student doesn't study. They know they don't read. They play video games all the time. I can just keep going down a list of things that they do. And I'm gonna tell you something. My eyes was open more so about how parents govern their children when I was doing virtual classes. Because you brought your home into my environment. And I heard the cussing, I heard the language, I heard all the stuff that was going on. You brought it right to the screen. And you talked back to me in such a way because I wasn't in the school system and you just felt you could say anything you wanted to say to me. Right. And you didn't even think about, man, I need not say that. But they showed it. So now that same attitude, we know how this kid is right here based on the fact that this parent's going to come in and talk nasty to us in front of his kid, do things that he's not supposed to do. And you want me to take this every day? And watch this. I can't say nothing. Say, you can cuss me all day. But let one cuss word come out of my mouth. Oh, get the paper, write messenger up. I'm just being honest with you. Get
Right.
the paper.
I agree.
You know how it is.
Right. So just thinking about that, having a job, one job, and thinking about I'm doing the work of two jobs,
Yeah.
and then I have to be productive in a way that if I'm not productive, I have upper level admin complaining, that maybe complaints from the central office because they're looking at the data,
Right.
complaints from parents.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you survive an education job with this? It's got to be two jobs, and then I'm not making enough money to pay what I need to pay, so I got to go get a part-time job or a third job.
So you got three things going on in your life here. And you talk about me. I mean, I'm talking about people like, man, how you do it? Well, it ain't the fact how I do it. It's the sacrifice that I have to make if I want my
every
family.
teacher, though.
I'm just
so
saying.
many sacrifices that you have to make to work in education. It's just like when I have to go back and do a presentation for parents or what have you. I'm making a sacrifice. Now I gotta try to rush in my house real quick, cook something to eat for my family, then rush back out the door.
Right.
But they're at home in their own environment, getting their kids together before they have to come and hear the presentation. So it's a lot of sacrifices.
Let me throw something else in here, and you didn't put it on there, but I think one of the biggest things that I hear is favoritism in the school system. Administrative favoritism, as I call it. Some people can't do nothing wrong, Sister Jackie. And whatever they say, they make law out of it. We know that. We done seen it at work. Am I right?
Yeah.
And we done had teachers that lash out in surveys and all that stuff where they know their names are not going to be in there, but they will put that in there and they will say stuff that they really can't say out loud, but because they know it's going to be printed from a private sect,
Right.
It didn't come back to the school. We've had some harsh things said about some people, in some schools that I was in, and because respect and favor, I've never quit a job. The first job I have ever quit was a teaching job. I walked out of a school at 11 o'clock in the day and said I quit because of an administration. Went to another school. These are the things. You see what I'm saying? And if I knew what I knew then, if my business that I have now was doing as well as it was then, I wouldn't have never went back into teaching. But I'm so far in now, I might as well retire now. You know what I'm saying? A few more years, I might as well retire. I'm so far in, but I was like, man, if I'd have been right here when I done that, I would have never went back. And now we got teachers telling young people in college, don't be no teacher. Wow, why would we do that? I never hear engineers tell other guys, don't be no engineer. You know what I'm saying? I never hear the guys that making all the money in these great professions, don't do this. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We hear so much. I mean, teachers telling their kids, don't be a teacher.
Yeah, that's really bad. And years ago, especially with me when I first started, I would say that I love the profession now. It's just everything that comes with it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. This teacher said, and these are all teachers that left the profession. She said the amount of labor involved, physically, mentally, spiritually, is very intense.
Right.
I can't imagine it because I do it, but it's so much work. I can't imagine being a teacher. I'll say that. I cannot imagine that because I feel like I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I feel like I have very good work ethic and work really hard. But the amount of stuff that goes into it, and this platform, now they're buying this platform and let's work on this and let's do that. It's just constant change. And the change sometimes, in my opinion, is not better.
And it seems that they're looking for things to make you fail.
Oh,
constant evaluations, more evaluations on teachers. You know, we got a teacher shortage, but you're failing first year teachers as opposed to coming in and giving them guidance to how you can do something.
Right.
You know, you got a bad classroom with this teacher, and you want to evaluate another teacher or that teacher with that class, and you say, well, you have no classroom management. Well, you already know 9 of those students out of the 26 have been to the office more than 10 times.
Right.
And you're telling me I don't have any classroom management.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the problem is, so you should already say, man, I just hope she get through this. I'm just being honest with you. We have no empathy.
Right.
When it comes to it. Parents have no empathy for teachers. It's all complaining. You know, instead of saying, my kid's eating too much candy at school. Why don't you teach your kid not to take candy? No, I'm just being honest. You tell them don't take peanut butter if they got allergies. Yeah. You tell them don't drink milk, don't eat meat, don't do all this if they're vegetarians. Am I right?
Right.
But teach him, I can't have candy. But no, you want to shut the school down. No candy in the school.
Right.
I mean, these are the things that parents are doing. Again, it's too much parental involvement in our profession. This will run people off every time. I mean, you call me pastor, I'm a pastor. You want to run me off from a church? Let people start trying to do my job continuously, and I don't have any kind of vision or anything to go by, and everything they do, I got to do.
Right.
That'll run a person off. So now we got teachers saying, you know what? And you know what? I fought a good fight. I tried to finish my course. You know what I'm saying? No, they said, right?
Scripture.
That's right.
The scripture.
They fought a good fight. I tried to finish my course, and I thought I could make it to 30, but Lord, I'm out of here.
You didn't win scripture on y'all.
I tried. I pray every day, Lord. Just give me a couple of more years, man. I got to get back to school, man. Let me get out of here. I'll be good.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the things that was in that article was teacher training.
Yeah.
And how can you get training when the profession is in such desperate need that they are hiring teachers and doing what they call job embedment. Job embedding teachers, which they have never seen anyone do it. Yeah. They just come and try to do it. They just start teaching. They've never had an internship, a practicum, or anything. So that's no.
That's interesting to me. You say that because I know a situation now where we had a teacher to retire, and she came back. But because her license was expired, they said they weren't going to pay her as a teacher. They want to pay her as a sub. But that job embedded teacher comes in and get full-time pay as a teacher. That's interesting to me. You know, I said, like, wait a minute, this person over here, we got people that has never taught. They came straight from, say, hey man, I got a degree, whatever. I graduated in business management, didn't get no job. I want to be a teacher. So you come in, you start teaching kindergarten, don't know nothing about it. But they pay you a full teacher salary. But the teacher that retired and came back, because she let her license in the same system expire because she was retired, it would seem that you would say, you know what, if we can get you back, we'll waiver that because we knew you were licensed. Right. The state got your license. Wow. They know it. They know this. Right. I mean, but you want to send a 70, 65, 50, 65, whatever year-old person back to take the practice test, back to take the specialty exams and all that stuff. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And that teacher, you know what? I'm done. I'm not. And she's you know what? Since you want to do this, if you ain't gonna pay me, I'm out of here. I came back because of the incentive. Right. Then they say I'm out here. Then you said, what are we gonna do? You already got a different plan for it. You know, we got these groups that come in, you know, that just allow you to teach, and they bag you up and guarantee you jobs and all this stuff. That profession, it is very frustrating for me to be a teacher. And then I look up, man, wait a minute. I put all this time in, you can't just walk in there and did this. You know, and then you'll write me up and won't write them up because you think you need them and you think that you got me. That's what makes you quit. That's what makes you quit.
Well, I think that there are a lot of reasons why teachers are leaving the profession. It's really a little bit sad to see, especially teachers that are really good at it. I've seen some teachers that say, no, no more. And they're really good at the profession. I'm just wondering in the next 5 to 10 years, will they be able to run a school? How do you run a school when you have such a teacher shortage going on now? How do you do that in 5 to 10 years when more people are going to be retiring early? Let me say that, as well as the first year teacher starting out is going to quit within the first 5 years.
And I think we need to go back and revisit some things with teachers for the incentives. See, when we first came into education, the retirement was 25 years. Now it's 30. Now they got this rule of 85, 92 and all this stuff. All this stuff. You keep making it, you just keep stretching it out so that the young person has no vision. Why do people go to the military a lot of times? They say, in 20 years, I can retire. You know what I'm saying? At least if I don't want to do nothing else, I get military retirement. I'll be 38 years old if I go when I'm 18. And I stay for 20 years, I can retire. A lot of people do that, because they got a vision of that.
Right.
So when I go into education, I got to have some kind of means to my end to say, you know what, hey, I'm beginning now, but in 25 years, I can do this. Tennessee came back to 30 years, and then they gave all these number formulas that you can do. You're being penalized. Then if you want to quit 25 years early, you're penalized.
Right.
You won't get your money. But you got these teachers that are frustrated, and they said, man, keep your money, because you know what? I'm out of here. That's a bad thing, Sister Jackie, when people just don't care no more. And watch this. I'm going to say this, and then I'll get back to you. Once you get an attitude that you want to leave, you don't teach to your strength anymore.
Right.
You're just existing now. And I think what's happening is we got so many teachers now that's existing.
Yeah.
And nobody's pulling anybody's coattail on what are we going to do about the teacher that just merely exists. And you can't get rid of them because we got a shortage.
Right.
But what are we doing? We're destroying lives when we do that. I heard a teacher say, man, I got 2 years. I ain't doing nothing. By the time they fire me, you know what? I'll be out here anyway.
It's not funny.
Yeah,
It's not funny.
Like, wait a minute. And she rode the wave for 2 years. Hey, I got an evaluation. I'm not even teaching. Let them give me zeros. I don't care. I'm done.
Well, it's interesting that you said all of that, and I think maybe we can end on this note and then come back with a different topic next week. But this teacher wrote, quote, I don't think anything could have convinced me to stay. Just 10 years in. Anything. Even if they say here's another $50,000.
It don't make no difference no more.
No. The last day was April 14, 2022.
Was it?
Quit.
April 14. That just right.
She didn't even make it to May.
Didn't make it. April, May. I will be out of here. She said, no, I got to go now.
I don't think anything.
That's a strong word right there.
Right.
But you know what, Sister Jackie? I'm going to tell you something, though. I feel her frustration because this is what I said when I left the school system I had. They wanted to do an exit interview with me. I told them I would pick up cans on side the road before I work for you again. Put down, I quit. Not resign. I said, I quit.
Oh,
that's how frustrated I was with the system.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You can be bullied by principals. You can be mistreated by people, and people don't see your value. And you know once you get that in your system, in your mind, that hey, ain't nothing gonna change. And then you see 30-year teachers quitting, 40-year teachers quitting. I seen 41-year teachers say, "I'm done. I ain't doing no more." What kept them there that long? They were good teachers. And they wasn't old because they started when they was 20 years old. You got 40 years in, 60 years. They said, I'm not doing this. But then all of a sudden, somebody come in and treat you like you're a nobody. They need to train some principals. That's what I'm telling you. First of all, Sister Jackie, some of the principals need to be retrained. I'm telling you, it ain't always.
We'll talk about that in another session because that may be coming from higher up as well. You know,
Yeah.
they have a job to do as well. So we can
Yeah.
talk about that in another session.
Let's do that.
We want to thank you all for joining us. We hope that you got something out of this session, and please leave a comment. We would love to hear what you have to say. Some feedback would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day.
All right. God bless.